it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bumping through your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bumping through your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass.
Hey, welcome to the Really Charlie Podcast, and tonight's guest is Laura Elizabeth, author, two-time author of, tonight's book is, this is the second one, and it's called A Special Kind of Heartache, and that, to me, that's poetic right there. I can write a few things about that title. So, Laura, I want to give you 5 stars on the title right off the bat, and the book looks real interesting. I can't wait. I cannot wait. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Yeah, this is, I'm glad we planned it, way ahead of time. We did it right. We locked down the date, and here we are. The craziest thing is that I knew I ordered the book, but it came unexpectedly. I'm like, what's this package? What did I order? And then boom, it's a book,
Yeah, they just go out on the date.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So you had an event, and didn't go as planned, but so you got plan B, and
Yes.
So when you gonna do plan B?
So what I had thought was going to happen was the book was released on September 23rd, and we went down to the island that the book is set on, and I had 4 or 5 different events scheduled there to introduce readers to the book, and we only got one of them done because we were interrupted by Hurricane Helene and ended up losing power and had some mild damage, but trees down, and comparatively to what other people had, it was just an inconvenience, not a real problem. But we did end up canceling a lot of those events for weather related things, and you're on an island, so marine transportation was limited. So going back in October and have some of those events rescheduled, and trying to get to some different places, and still really want to meet some of those readers. I've had some virtual calls with some groups that were coming to see me, and just kind of rescheduling. But one of the things I had planned for that launch week was doing some tours on the island with book clubs. A lot of my readers are in book clubs, and this was a group of 18 people that were coming to the island to do a tour with me. And so we're working on rescheduling that, but we do have another tour going out in October on the island. So it's really a fun way to meet readers, to see the island in real life, to talk about the places that are special, to kind of introduce people to why this island means so much to me, and hoping that they walk away with a little bit of the island magic that I felt when I went there for the very first time, and still feel to this day, 20 years later. So
Awesome. Yeah, it's give me an island, and I will have instant serenity, tranquility. It's just, there's something about islands that do a lot for me. And then the sea, the surf, that does a whole lot for me. So I can write forever. But that's one of Mother Nature's best gifts to me, and I truly, truly love it. Let's see. I have some questions for you, but
good. I love them.
Yeah, it's it's great. it's great that I like doing homework on guests, right? And just kind of get everything they kind of you threw out there about the book, and I just use that to kind of give a nice conversation during the podcast. And
Sure.
so everything is generated off of what you wrote. All right.
Okay, good. I'll
All
know
right.
this then. There will be no
Yeah.
surprises. Okay.
No. No.
All right.
All right. Let's see. Question: what inspired you to write the Island Mysteries series?
Okay, so yes, I do know the answer to this one, so that was good. Um, so my family and I went to this island many years ago on a whim. We were supposed to be going someplace else. We had at the time two family dogs that my neighbor was going to watch for us, and she ran into some trouble where she wasn't going to be able to at the last minute. So at the time, I was living in Richmond, Virginia, and we didn't know what we were going to do. It was our children's spring break. Had promised them to go away on a trip, and so felt like we still should do something. But at this point, it needed to be something we could take the dogs with us on this trip. So we Googled where could we drive to that was pet friendly, and hadn't really lived in the South very long or the mid-Atlantic, and stumbled upon on the second page of Google this island. And so we took a chance, never heard of it, didn't really even know how to pronounce it. It's called Defusky Island, and it's in between Hilton Head, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia. And took a chance, took a trip, had this cute little cottage for the four of us and our two dogs. And within 20 minutes of being on the island, I felt a pull to this place as if it had been my home. And we loved it so much, we ended up buying property there on that trip, which was incredibly, like a wild, crazy thing to do, and
Mm-hmm.
very impulsive, and hadn't done obviously all the research that you should do when you're buying property. And we ended up being in a situation where the resort where our property was located went bankrupt within less than a year of us buying our
Wow.
property. So we never ended up building our home, but we continued to vacation there through multiple bankruptcies and hurricanes and all kinds of things that happened and made it challenging to be there. In 2020, so many years later from then, I decided that I would use my skills, my ability to kind of do some research and put together what I call a passion project. And that was working on trying to revitalize parts of this island. That work led me to meet people all around the world, talk to people from many different countries in many different industries. And one of the people that I spoke to was a man that my husband and I went to college with. We both are graduates of Babson College in Wellesley. And we reconnected with this man. He graduated with my husband, who's a couple years older than me. And he said, "What have you been up to?" And I said, "Oh, we've lived here. We've gone there. We've, had this job, that job, the other thing." And then I told him about this project. And he said, "That's an amazing project. It's super interesting, especially from the fact that you did this work without being paid and without being any kind of notoriety, and for no other reason than you felt compelled to do it." So I think that's the makings of a nonfiction book. He had just published one. He introduced me to his publisher and said, talk about this if this is a project. When the publisher said, "That's a really great project, super cool idea, but you don't have any social media following, you're no name, you did it for all the reasons that you did it, those make you not marketable. So like,
Mhm.
do it for any publicity. There's nobody knows you did it. But if you want to tell a story about this island, then write a story about the island in a genre that you read a lot. And I've always read mysteries all my life since I was in elementary school. So I wrote a mystery. It was called All Is Now Lost. It was, I submitted the manuscript hoping that he or someone else would publish it. And, but I didn't count on it because I had never written anything to be published before. And he agreed to publish the book, but he said, one of the things that people will want is for this to be a series because people want the characters to continue. And so that's how the Island Mystery series came about. It's really for my love of this place and what it means to me and to my family. And I'm hoping to introduce not only this island, but the concept of finding home, wherever that home is for you in this story is, and then the bigger idea of if you have a calling to do something. For me, it was this passion project and the book and these things, but say yes to that, because
Yeah.
if you don't do it, you never know what experiences you can be opening yourself up to by saying yes to your own idea. So, yes,
Awesome. That's it's great. That whole situation, regardless of where you thought you were going, or or soon where you're going. Look what's come out of it, right? Look what's come out of it, and it's and I say that was the right path. You took absolutely the right path, regardless of going in blinded or naive. It just was great because the books really show, you know, especially with the descriptive and creative writing that you've done. It really shows a lot about what you're seeing, how you felt, because true and true, what you write, there's some kind of your own feeling in it, right? There's always a feeling coming from you, and you definitely did a great job on the
oh,
first book.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important for you to, use your own voice to, say what's on your mind, what's in your heart. And, I think the thing about this is that I'm writing from some of my personal experiences. The characters are people that are, a blend of people that I've either met or observed or, um, imagined. And
Hmm.
it's been fun sharing this with people, and the readers that I have are very active. They will reach out to me, they will contact me on social media, or they come to events that I'm hosting and they ask me, like, are you the protagonist name in the book is Carr, and it's short for Carissa. And they'll say, like, are
Hmm.
you Carr? And I'm like, I'm not Carr. I'm not a detective, but it's funny. It's just because they hear like my pattern of speech in her, and so
Yes.
been so much fun to do. It's just really been just a very highly energetic. Like I've just gotten so much from the people that I've met doing this. Like if I never did this, I would never have met you,
Yeah.
so like,
True.
we just never know what is coming. So I've really enjoyed it.
Yes, I am glad. I'm very happy that you're in my life now, um, as a two-time guest, and I consider you a friend. And I just very happy that you are bringing this all out, because there's so many people with so many blessed talents, but it's hitting and it's never comes out. And at least I could say that you have done it twice, and it's a great job.
Thank you.
Uh, all right, let's see. Uh, this kind of you already got on this. You kind of mentioned a few things about this question. So let's see. I'm gonna go to characters, all right?
Okay.
And you just mentioned Carr. So how has Carr Jepsen involved? Sorry, let me read this again. How has Carr Jepsen evolved since the first book?
I love this question. So some of the beta readers that I had picked up on it and some did not. So I'm curious to see what type of feedback I get, as the book kind of makes its way through other readers. But um, in the first book, we meet Carr as a middle-aged woman who leaves her home in Atlanta and moves to the island full time. She had this house on the island. She and her husband purchased it on their trip to the island, and he has passed away, and she is a recent widow starting her life, air quotes, over again. So she's given up her professional career in book one, and owns a bookstore, and so she becomes an entrepreneur, and she is beginning as a recently widowed person, as a new entrepreneur, an empty nester. So a lot of things are kind of new to her in book one. And she solves the crime primarily on her own. She has the support of her friends, but she feels a drive to get to the bottom of things. And she's kind of messy about it. She stumbles around. She's not perfect. She's struggling. So there's all of that in book one. In book two, she's been on the island for a while. She's had her first full year on the island. She still owns her bookstore. And she is now a little bit more familiar with the living as a year-round resident on the island. She's not a visitor anymore, and the store has really started to take off relative to the size of the island. So there's a slight shift, and that's her evolution, is that she is now part of the community as an established person there. And so that confidence has allowed her to really have stronger relationships with the other people in her friend group, and she is not solving the crime all on her own. She doesn't feel this like it's me against the world kind of thing. It's the group effort, as they've all kind of put their talents, their skills, their observations into the pot, and they work collaboratively, some more than others, but she's much more settled in book two. She's not there. It's not as if she has forgotten, all the trouble that she has gone through, the loss of her husband and all of these things, but she's more settled, and there's a calmness to her that is a little, in book one, it's a little bit more frenetic. So she's kind of getting her feet underneath her now as she begins this next phase of her life.
Awesome. It's a great character. Very great character. All right. All right, let's talk about your writing. This is, how do you balance mystery, suspense, and character development? How do you balance it all? Does one go with the other? How's it?
I think suspense is related to the pacing of the story. You want to build to a level of suspense, and then you deliver a little bit of information, and you have to be careful, especially in a mystery, that you're not delivering so much that someone's saying, like, I know who it is, and you're on page, 100, and you still have 100 pages to go. Like, I want someone to walk along, a reader to walk along in the story to say, like, it could be this person, it could be that person, I'm not really sure who it is. So part of how I try and attack those challenges is through dialogue. And I try and make the dialogue be as natural as it would be in real life. If you were sitting next to somebody at a restaurant and you're hearing them talk, it's very much that style of speech that it's you could join the conversation yourself. And so sometimes the characters start going down a path and then they realize maybe that's not the right path. And that's what it would be like in real life, because these are all amateur sleuths. So they don't really have complete access to DNA and lab results. And so it's really just, what are they observing? What are they hearing? What are they, feeling? And so I try and accomplish all of that through dialogue. And so there is a lot of dialogue in my stories. I just feel like that helps readers get to know the characters and how I want them to, relate to the characters. So, but I do try and build suspense, and then not just crash people down and say, okay, we're on the wrong tangent. That's not what's happening. So I try at those pivotal points to give some piece of information so that people are like, okay, we're making progress and we're moving through the story, versus those sharp, declines, that uprise and then the decline. As a reader, I find those personally to be very frustrating. So I didn't want to write that way, where you're like really disappointed that you're on the wrong track, trying to figure something out. So it's very gradual for me, but mostly through dialogue.
Awesome. Yeah, you definitely keep it flowing, keep it going to an organic, if this is a organic description or setting, organic setting. It was a little, and you just kind of, it's great. So I'm glad that your own personal perspective ends up being the correct one, right? You can kind of do something and it's like, I can't read this lady's book anymore. This is crazy, and
Yeah.
and that's not happening with you. People are reading your book, and I'm very glad to read it, which led to somebody like me buying book one and now book two. And I don't care if you go to 100. I'm gonna have 100 of your books on my shelf.
That is a huge compliment. It's I don't know how many books there'll be, but I started to think about eventually how the characters will either leave the island or how it will end. But I don't want that to happen yet, because I really do love the character. I really do love these people that exist in my mind. So I feel like they are so familiar to me. So when people say to me like, "Oh, I would have thought so and so would have said this," and I'm like, "No, they would never." Like I like know that. So it's funny.
That's so true. I just want to let everyone know out there, Jack, I see you. Thank you, and good evening to you. Laura and I are having a good time here. We're on the Really Charlie podcast. We're also on YouTube, and we are on LinkedIn. This is part of WNB1 Radio, which is at 262 Union Street, New Bedford, Massachusetts. And so I just like doing podcasts. I really appreciate and kind of thank my blessings that I end up meeting so many amazing people from the audience to the guest, and you're right up there, Laura. You definitely I follow you on Instagram, on your website, and it's just great to have you here. But thank you, Jack, and everybody else that's here listening to Laura and her fabulous stories. So All right, Laura, is there anything you wanted to mention, or you want me to continue with the questions? I can do both if you want.
Um, I do. Before we leave, I want to talk about the ways that we can connect and also some of the things that are coming up in the spring. But let's do your questions. Make sure we get to all of them.
All right, let's see. Series feature. All right, let's see. I don't want to. I don't want to. This question's a spoiler alert. I don't like that one. I don't like that one. Let's see. Well, you said you didn't have an idea, so I can't ask you that one. You just answered it. All right, let's go to this one. How does cars resilience? Sorry. How does cars' reliance on her community impact the investigation?
So, yeah, she is really supported by the community, and just even in being a leader, organizing some of the search and rescue for the person who ends up being involved in the crime. She is really the facilitator of a lot of information, but she also has a humility to her where she is a listener to the things that people tell her, and some of the people who have lived on the island the longest, they have a wisdom about the way the island kind of ebbs and flows. And she really understands and appreciates that there are people with knowledge that she does not have. So those are like probably the primary ways, but she would not be able to go all about the island and, eventually even off island in this book to get to to find some of the clues if she did not have the support of her friend group who really rally around her and either manage the store in her absence or kind of give her a reality check or bring her along on their own ideas to solve the crime. So she really does that because she is woven into the community, and this spot and the island has become a community gathering place. There's a lot of information that kind of comes and goes from there. But at the end of the day, she really is a member of this community, and she values that. She values and knows that it's really important to her that she can't live on a bridgeless island alone, that she has to let her guard down and depend on other people, and also be dependable to other people and for other people. So it's much more of a symbiotic relationship at that point, because she understands that rhythm of living, where you have to be reliant, even if you don't want to be, on other people, not only for your, basic needs, for instance, in a storm, right? Like you lose power, you lose the ability to get off the island, you may not have a phone. You need your community to provide what you don't have, so it's she's very aware of this now, and she has that humility to know, although the store is successful, is that it's successful because of the people on the island who support her. It's not because she's done something that's so unique or incredible. It's because the people that she surrounds her with makes her better than when she was just by herself. So that's a really important message, I think, and particularly on this island where you are, you need to be part of a community to really thrive and on the island, because it can be hard to live this way, and it doesn't take much to kind of cut you off from the mainland. The storm that we just had, Helene, was thankfully in this area not as bad as it was in many, many other places. And still we were without power for 4 or 5 days. And, that's a long time. So not as bad as what other people had, but still was, a sense of community to say, I have this, what do you need? So you have to be willing to do that to live this way. So, and she's learned that in book 2.
Yeah. It's my my grandfather he was you're aware of Nantucket Island. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where he grew up and that's where he was raised. So it's going through this book kind of reminds me a lot of that. And just the people and the characters, how they interact with each other. It
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of so much of what I do remember on Nantucket. So no, you are definitely one of the good ones. Definitely. I love your writing. Um, let's see. Um, all right, I'm gonna leave the questions alone because you're pretty much, you're so descriptive, like in your book. You just do so much. So the questions I have here, you already basically answered. So I like that. So this is book 2,
Yeah.
and you've um, done a few things. Your website looks amazing. What is your website?
So my website is theislandmysteries.com. And so when you get to the website, there's a little pop-up and it invites you to become a subscriber. And I do a monthly newsletter. I don't like to hit people with like all kinds of emails, but the monthly newsletter is just a summary of like some of the highlights of what's gone on in since the last time we were all together, and then some fun things that are coming, upcoming. And so that is something that I get so much response from. It's I'll get people who will email me after it goes out and they'll say like, I'm coming to this event, or what about this? Or, I wanted to ask you something. Sometimes I include like a recipe from the book or something that is ties to it, because people want to hear this stuff, which is really
Mm-hmm.
very, very thrilling. But on the website, I also have a page that is dedicated to my events, and podcast recordings are there too. I have a Spotify music list that is music for each book that is, I think, kind of gives you the vibe of what's happening in the book and what the characters are feeling. And I have a little bit of art on the website of pictures and things that my family has, taken over the years. That's there. And then I have book club questions. And that is another page that really gets a lot of traffic. That is a page that a lot of book clubs use. They read the book in as part of their monthly or quarterly or whatever frequency they meet, and then they ask these questions or others like it. And from there, sometimes we have book clubs reach out and say, we want to see the island, or can you come to a virtual book club meeting and do a Zoom call with us? And so I've met so many readers that way. That's really been so much fun to do, and I love it. So the website has quite a bit of information on it, and we do keep it current. So we have that. That's a big communication tool for me. But
Great.
you're right. I've been in a lot of places since this has started, all the way from Boston to Florida, every place in between. I think I've been in most of the states in between with different events. And I've taught classes at the University of South Carolina on character development. I have another class coming up in the spring on finding alternate distribution channels for your books. If you're
Mm-hmm.
a book, what do you do with it? So I myself am trying to determine alternate distribution channels. I'm looking to try and bring my book out to, whether it's, turning it into TV or, something else. But my stories have been turned into murder mystery dinner theater. And
Nice.
that has been so much fun. So we did book 1 in March, and then in upcoming March we'll do book 2. And right now we have 4 shows scheduled for that, and that is an amazing thing to see the characters kind of be in 3D, and to say the words that you wrote, and to see the story kind of unfold before you in real life has been incredible to watch. And that is really what gave me the inspiration of thinking, like, wouldn't it be fun to bring it to like a TV show, or
Absolutely.
like it just would be so much fun to see it on the screen. So but I'm teaching a class about finding alternate distribution channels for your work, and, how to go about trying to build a network to, get those messages out, and what to do. So,
I know that. Yeah, TV will definitely come true if that's what you want. I had another guest on here, and a great author. She had a series, and she wrote magnificent. Oh, it was just amazing. Um, well, she talked about movies and maybe Netflix. She just talked about it, and they're already getting things together. They're already set up production.
Oh, good for
So
her.
so I think it's good 2025. I think it's going to happen. And I can't wait to see that. So and hopefully yours is right behind hers, so I can brag.
Yay. That would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, you're doing a great job, and I I I just I'm thinking about the dinner, right? The the dinner play, and you guys playing out the roles, and I always wanted to do that, but I always wanted to do it on a train, right? And
Oh, so cool.
so you know my wife bring it up just about a few months ago about going on a dinner train ride, and doing the same thing. So
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
amazing. But I got to try it out, and it's one of those things on our bucket list, and it has to get it done.
Yeah, we did it. My husband and I did it many, many, many years ago on a boat in Connecticut. And
Mm,
we did we had the dinner, and then the actors were walking around and doing it. And so there's a vineyard here in North Georgia that has a tie to the island. And they had previously done murder mysteries, but it had been more like it was definitely before COVID, but it was, I guess, I wasn't living here then, but they did it like a Clue, like the game of Clue.
mm,
And so it was their idea to say, what if we took this book and made it into, murder mystery dinner theater? And I was like, okay, well, how do you do that? Well, they hired a, like a theater group,
yep.
and I wrote the script, and they produced this show. And it was nerve wracking. It was like, okay, well, they put out, I think it was like 120 tickets each night. And we're like, what if it doesn't sell? Like, it's
Hmm.
scary. It's like putting yourself out there again. And don't you know, it was just like the tickets sold like this. And it was all sold out with a waiting list for people who wanted to come and see this. And so this year we're going to do 4 shows, and it's just wild. It's just so wild to hear all 3 nights. I would sit there in the audience, like, I mean, I obviously knew it was going to happen, but it was like, it just can't believe it's even happening, that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, people are all listening and voting and cheering and reacting, and, you know, in real time. It was just, I mean, I felt like I was on cloud 9. It was just so much fun to hear, like, people laugh, people like gasp, like, you know, just all the emotions. It was just the thrill of a lifetime, truly. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you're on the right path, and whatever you do is going to happen. I like the way your books are becoming a symbol of the island, um, and whether you know it or not, and that's so important. As you get older, your husband gets older, family gets older, and then they start reflecting on just what you did, or what you all did, right? Because it
Mhm.
takes a family to create
Yeah,
someone else's dream, right? It takes more than one person to complete a dream, and I'm so happy that you know your books have become part of the island, and so they definitely should put it in bronze. No, we can't put it in bronze, because if we put it in bronze, we can't open the book. We need the book open at all times, right? We need the we need the series to be opened at all times. Laura, I like to leave a few minutes for you to say whatever you wish. And just to conclude with our podcast. But this is not the first time. This is the second time, but it most definitely won't be the last time you and I are on this podcast.
I love it. Yeah. Well, thank you for inviting me, and to keep inviting me, and all your support. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the support of your audience. I'd love for anyone to reach out to me. Again, the website is in the chat. It's the Island Mysteries. .com, and I'm on Instagram, and my handle is the Island Mysteries. I'm on LinkedIn, also on Facebook, and I do answer anything that people send to me, any messaging that people send. I do answer everything. So if people have questions or want to know more about the island or about the books or anything that pops into their head, I encourage them to reach out and connect with me, because I always love to hear from people who are curious. My curiosity has been something that has propelled this project, from the resort project to the books to the alternate distribution system. So I just would encourage people. I respect it. I'd love to hear it. So I would, love to hear from people who have questions or just want to know more.
Awesome. I'll keep in touch. As you post things, I try to share it. And don't feel like you have to ask. And if you tag my name on anything, just do it, without anything. We have a lifetime contract, so
I
you
love that.
yeah, you,
Yeah.
you come down you give me a call, we'll definitely do a podcast, or as far as support. And if you come further north, let me know. If
Great.
I can definitely meet up with you, and do a nice photo shoot, have a great conversation, and but please let me know.
I will.
I keep saying there's so many friends and family down there that have been trying to tell me to go down your way, and I
You
keep
should.
I keep
Yes.
missing the opportunity. I have a crazy amount of support down that way, and I really appreciate it. Um, so But Laura, you're the best. You have a great night. Give the hubby a high five for me, and keep on writing. Keep on
Thank
writing.
you. Thank you so much.
All right. And I'm going to add this to Spotify too, so that will be on Spotify as soon as tomorrow.
Okay? Oh, awesome! Terrific.
All right, my friend, you're the best, and I will see you when I see you. But I'm only a phone call or message away.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too. God bless you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Awesome. I cannot. It's amazing how she's so inspiring, right? Laura talks, and she's like, when she talks, she triggers so many thoughts in my head. Like, oh my God, I want to write something. I want to do something. So just listening to her. So any kind of instruction she's given in the schools or in the universities, I know she's inspiring so many people. She's also inspiring, people in her community. But she's amazing, and that's why she's here again. And she's going to be on it. Every book that she produces, I'm going to definitely get her on here. And you know what? Come on, guys, girls, catch up. This is book 2. And so get 1 and 2, go to the website, order them, and they get delivered right to your home. It's amazing. All right. I have another podcast coming up in about 15 minutes, Poetic Conversations with Waleem, the Funky Professor. So come back on and join me. This is the Really Charlie Podcast on WNB1 Radio, 262 Union Street, New Bedford, Massachusetts. And please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Really Charlie Podcast. Take care, y'all, and have a great night. Stay safe, everyone down south. Stay safe. God bless you.
It's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bumping through your broadcast. Grab a chair, fill your glass. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bumping through your broadcast. Grab a chair, fill your glass.